Today we're heading to one of the most special places that I have ever ridden a mountain bike. What's up, everybody? My name is JP. I am a teacher and a filmmaker here in northern Minnesota, and today is July 16th, and we are on our way to a place called Maplelag Resort. A lot of you might have thought we're headed to the Maah Daah Hey Trail because that's a special place to ride bikes too, but we're not. We're going to Maplelag Resort because in my preparation for the Maah Daah Hey 100, which is just over 2.5 weeks away, I need some big race efforts. And so we're gonna find that today in some of the most old school single track you can find outside of the East Coast. This is rocky, rooty goodness. It is a 25-mile loop called the Lagchilada. It will put me to the sword most definitely. My best time ever on this loop is 2 hours and 25 minutes. We're gonna see if we can better that today or get close. Welcome to the Bootleg Miles. So if you remember my story from back at Badlands Gravel Battle about how I got into mountain biking. When I got into mountain biking, I needed a couple things. One, I needed a mountain bike, which I soon got. And then I needed someplace to ride. At that point, I didn't have 3 miles of single track in my backyard. And the only place that I really knew about near me was this place, Maplelag. Now, the owner, Jay Richards, had been a follower of mine on Strava, and we had interacted a little bit. And so you will laugh at me later when you realize the first place that I ever came to ride single track was right here. No experience on a mountain bike, no handling skills. I came here and I actually didn't know where I was going, to the point that I rode most of the trail in the wrong direction. Now, one thing you'll notice today is that at no point am I going to be telling this story during the actual ride. This is essentially a personal FKT attempt on my part, and there's no way I'm taking my hands off the bars and getting the GoPro out and talking to it. So I'm gonna tell this story mostly ahead of time, and then I'll fill in the cracks afterwards. Now, Maplelag has a team as well as being a resort in these amazing trails, and very early on, Jay got me into a kit, and as I started to race on the mountain bike, he was incredibly supportive. Now, when you go from being a gravel-only racer or a road-only racer, it doesn't matter if you're 5+ watts per kilo, which at the time I was. I might as well have been 10 watts per kilo. It didn't matter. My handling skills were so bad. And so in my very first race at Cuyuna, I followed Bruce Martins because I had been told Bruce was the real deal on the mountain bike and a guy I should follow. And of course, I followed him without problem until we got to the first corner on the single track and I went over the bars. Even though that first race was a little rough, Jay was so supportive and he said I'd figure it out and he kept encouraging me. My improvements that year were pretty steady, and by the end of the year I was able to snag a podium at the short track at this course right here, which is the last race in the Minnesota series. And again, Jay was there cheering me on. Now, as I said, the Maplelag team is more than just a couple people. It's a huge community. And the more I got into this community, the more I realized there were a lot of people here who could support me. Sometimes it was those virtual high fives after good training, but overall, there was just a huge group of people who were like-minded, who were able to hold each other up. Now, as much as the race support was important to me, where I really found value in my friendship with Jay was in 2020 when my mental health totally fell apart. I basically went off the grid for a while. And Jay would check in on me from time to time and see how I was doing. And for a long time, I wasn't comfortable even telling him what was wrong. I just said I didn't feel good. But eventually, when I did tell him, he said, I can't imagine what you're going through, but know that Janelle and I have been praying for you every day for a very long time. Now, if you're not religious, that's fine. But having somebody tell you that they're thinking about you every single day, and then in the ensuing weeks and months check in on you on a very regular basis, is huge. Jay and Janelle didn't have the proximity to me to come and check in on me in person, but they did have the ability to send me messages and encourage me with that. When Jay would see that I got a ride in, he would commend me on it. At Maplelag, there's a saying, keep the wheels moving. Now, part of the reason, as you'll see today, is the deer fly population here is wild. And so you don't want to stop and fool around because they will come and try and carry you away. So you keep the wheels moving and the bugs will leave you alone. But it's also a moniker for life. And in those moments, as I was just starting to get activity in again, get walking again, I needed somebody to say to me on a regular basis, hey, keep the wheels moving, keep moving forward. This is essentially, activity is the enemy of depression. And those encouragements, those little messages were always what I needed to remember that somebody far away from me loved me and cared deeply about me and wanted to see me as the best version of myself. The other thing Jay did is he found ways for me to stay involved even when I wasn't able to get race. He started getting me involved in the kit design of the team and taking my input and listening to what I thought would look best. And so for the last few years, the Maplelag kit has had a lot of influence from my inspirations that Jay and I would collaborate on. Now, this probably seems like not a big deal, but when you have people around you who aren't able to actually participate in the thing that has bonded your friendship, it's really important to find other ways for them to stay involved in that specific community. And Jay did that by getting me involved in the kit design. Hey man, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
It's going.
Yeah.
Blew myself up a little bit on the first half, but
those first 4 miles are like a harder time managing that because you go too hard and it just throws everything.
Yeah. Well,
after doing so many, you think.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you lose your momentum on any of them, and it's just 500 watts all of a sudden. So it's all good.
Good. I put some coffee and some water bottles for you.
Thanks, man.
On the bench.
Okay.
And a shirt too. I don't know.
Okay. Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Good to see you. All right, we're halfway officially, and I'm about 7 minutes behind my personal best, which that's okay. That's 5 watts per kilo the last when I set that. I'm about 4 right now, but I'm also a lot better bike handler. So regardless, that doesn't change. Second half, we're gonna try and go super smooth and fast. And I tend to be faster on the second half of this course anyway. Ultimately, this is one of those friendships and support that got me riding again and got me out doing mental health advocacy. So this year, even though I have gained a title sponsor and I have this custom kit, I told Jay, no matter what, forever, Maplelag will stay on the kit in one way or another. Because this is what real community looks like. People who support you and who reach out and continue to support you in the ways that they are able. It doesn't always mean people come right next to you in person and put their arm around you, because sometimes that's just not possible. When you build real community like this, not only are you there for people and building relationships, but they're also there for you. I said earlier that Maplelag is a destination cross-country ski resort. And for years, its iconic lodge stood as a symbol of the entire resort. But in the 90s, the resort, or the lodge, I should say, burned down, and they rebuilt it, the Richards family. And it stood again until 2022, when once again the lodge burned down. And what Jay and Janelle saw as this tragedy happened was the Maplelag community once again come around them and support them in ways that they maybe hadn't realized were there. They had built all these relationships with people over the years and poured themselves into people, and we were there when they needed it most. But here's the craziest part. As they were going through all that, as they were watching their business essentially burn up and watching the jobs of so many that they employed be destroyed, within 2 months they lined up at the very, very front of the line to support the Back to the Start project. And they were the first people to put money into that project and this mental health initiative that started with the Stable Cyclist YouTube channel and the Stable Cyclist podcast and everything that's come since then. They were the ones who infused the money initially and said, JP, we are on our hands and knees, but we so believe in you and what you are doing. All right, I know a lot of people probably would like to know, how did I actually do on this personal FKT? I don't really know what to call this. It's not a race, but it's a loop, and I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but I definitely can't get the FKT, so I just call it a personal FKT. So here's how it went for me. I said at the beginning my best time was 2:25. That's not correct. My personal best I set in 2021 was 2:26:36. On the day that I did it this year, I did it in 2:38:36. So I was exactly 12 minutes slower this year. Now you saw that a couple things went wrong. I took a wrong turn, like the most boneheaded wrong turn I could have taken, but I was so blown up at that point when I missed the turn on the pavement. I stopped and talked to Jay for a little bit. Who cares, right? Relationships matter. That was way more important than trying to get a fast time. What's interesting is I did the second half, according to Strava, I did the second half exactly the same time as I did it 4 years ago, when, like I said in the video, I was 5 watts per kilo, and right now I'm 4 watts per kilo. So my power to weight is a lot lower right now, but as I said, there's a couple differences. I've gotten to be a lot better rider technically, and I'm on a full suspension versus a hardtail. And
I think that's a huge difference for riders. So this was a really good first test, a time to come and just really twist that throttle hard and see what I could do out there in a place that's so special to me. I have been talking on this channel for about 2 years about finding community and getting to be a part of it. And for some of you, it is a bike organization or a bike club like Maplelag is for me. But I've also encouraged you, like, go find a church or go find something, a book club where you can find people who will check in on you. And as you can see with the cycling community I'm a part of, it's not super invasive. I actually see Jay, Ben Olsen, Heidi Olsen, some of those people, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But we definitely check in on each other a lot more often than that. And just knowing that I have those people around me has made a tremendous difference. And like I said, you're here today watching this stuff because the people in that community looked at me and said, we believe in what you're trying to do. Also, because I know some of you are super dorky, at some point in the fall, when I'm a little tight on time, I will probably just post the full ride so you can see the entire loop and ride along if you're into that kind of thing. I am not into that kind of thing, but I know a lot of people are. So you can ride along and hear me curse at myself when I miss the turn. You can hear me curse at the course when it's not going so well, and all of that. And of course, more than anything today, more than any of the stories you heard or anything I've told you, remember you are loved.